Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today being Ganesh Chaturthi, I thought we will take up the significance of Ganesha and then get into the text. So, one of those wonderful festivals which can be celebrated or which should be celebrated by one and all, irrespective of what faith they come from. Ganesha or Vinayaka is not a reference to a faith, it is a reference to a concept, an ideal. So it doesn't matter either Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, they still, yeah, Ganesh Chaturthi or Vinayak Chaturthi should be celebrated by one and all, like Diwali. The Ganesha is a Sanskrit word, which it's taken from two Sanskrit words, Ganaha and Isha. Ganaha meaning multitude, many, or one which carries everything. Ganaha, and then Isha means the Lord, the reality. So Ganesha literally means the Lord of all beings. So interesting. Ganesha means the Lord of all beings, and Ganesha is the allegoric significance is he's the first son of Lord Shiva. Ganesha is the first son of Lord Shiva, and Shiva represents the supreme reality. And as a result, Ganesha being the son of Shiva, the significance is Ganesha is a seeker who has gained that oneness with the supreme reality. Therefore, the son, if Shiva represents supreme reality, Ganesha, the son of Shiva, is a reference to a seeker who has gained that oneness with the supreme reality. So, I repeat, Ganaha and Isha together means Ganesha. Ganaha means multitude or many, or one who carries everyone. Ganaha, Isha is Lord. Ganesha literally means the Lord of all beings. And being the son of Shiva, Ganesha also represents a seeker who has gained the oneness with divinity. There are other names of Ganesha. The common names are Ganapati, Gajanana, and Vinayaka. It is Ganapati is similar to Ganesha. Gajanana means elephant faced. Vinayaka means the supreme leader. And then Vigneshwara, the Lord of all obstacles. Vigneshwara means the Lord of all obstacles. So there's a general belief that any undertaking you are up to, there is always a prayer to Lord Ganesha. There's always, meaning the notion is, if you have done the Ganesh Puja, could be a business, could be any important activity, and if you have done a prayer to Lord Ganesha, the notion is, or the belief is, you will meet with success alone. You will be able to ride over the difficulties, by the grace of Ganesha. It's a belief. And see, let me tell you, beliefs works wonders in our life. I always say, beliefs, even in relationships, the beliefs you hold in the beginning of the relationship defines the relationship. And when you start your any noble undertaking with a prayer to Ganesha, it is you're mentally well prepared. It is a confidence booster. That's the beauty of these prayers. So it's fascinating. If only you observe it, it's very interesting. The mythology, if you can observe the mythology, it's interesting. Lord Ganesha The portrait of Ganesha, if you observe, Ganesha, it has an elephant head and has a big belly, and he's got one tusk which is broken, and one feet which is placed on the ground, one above, and there is a rat at the floor looking up to the Lord Ganesha, and there is modak, the sweets which are also there. It's see, whoever devised this is fabulous. The thought behind this is beautiful. Why Lord Ganesha literally means the perfection or success. And a person who is successful, who has gained a certain sense of equanimity, is one who has a giant intellect. That's the reason Ganesha has an elephant head, a giant intellect. It is, and from that, either from him arises the trunk, which represents the intellect. And the beauty of an elephant trunk is it can uproot a tree. It can also pick up a minute needle as well. The trunk of an elephant can uproot a tree, or it can even pick up a small object. I've seen many a times, you go to a temple in Guruvayur or any other, if there is an elephant, a child can be holding a small banana. It will easily pick up a banana. It will, without hurting anyone, it will pick up a banana. Therefore, a person of perfection or success is suggested that each one has two kinds of intellect. The gross intellect, which you use in dealing with the world, and you have the subtle intellect, where it helps you to attune to the reality. The two intellects available to each one of us. And the access you gain through your effort, through your tapas, they say, discipline. A person of perfection is one who has a very powerful gross intellect when it comes to the world. Gross intellect meaning that which you use in dealing with the world, the worldly activities, the choices. In any aspect pertaining to the world, you are using the gross intellect. And it says a person of perfection has a very strong gross intellect and a very sharp, subtle intellect. There is always this attunement to reality for a person of perfection, of success. If you have both these aspects perfected in you, you have a beautiful life. You have a beautiful life. It's like a classical musician is always attuned to the, if you have attended any Indian classical music or even Western classical, they are attuned to a particular tune. Various songs are performed using that tune. Similarly, the gross intellect and the subtle intellect. You need a very strong gross intellect to deal with the world. You need a very strong subtle intellect to attune to the reality. So that is highlighted by Lord Ganesha having the elephant head, meaning a giant intellect. And Ganesha has a large stomach, which means if you have gained spiritual maturity, you can stomach any experience. You can digest, you can deal with any experiences life throws at you. The converse is not true. Anyone having a big stomach does not mean they can digest anything. They can't even digest food. A person with a large stomach, it's symbolic. You have a large stomach, meaning you can digest anything. Whatever the life throws at you, you can digest it. You can deal with it. You can respond gracefully, maturely. A large stomach. And one tusk is broken, if you say. Ganesha, one tusk is broken. Both the tusk, if both the tusk are of the same level, it's a pair. One tusk is broken represents a person of perfection, success, peace, is one who has transcended the pairs of opposites. There's no more. See, we are all buffeted by pairs of opposites: joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor, success, failure, heat, cold. Each one of us, at any point of our life, we are affected, influenced by one pair of opposite. One pair of opposite, either heat or cold, either success or failure, either honor or dishonor. either joy or sorrow. We seem to be affected, influenced by the pair of opposites. Ganesha represents, if one tusk is broken, it represents they have gone beyond the pair of opposites. We always say, if you go to you may buy an expensive Ganesha statue, and one tusk is broken, and you go to the person, look here, you sold a damaged piece, one tusk is broken. I remember we were asking, and that fellow pulls the other tusk from another statue and puts it. Now are you okay? It's symbolic. One tusk broken. No more pairs of opposites. No more. See, when we say joy and you have transcended joy and sorrow, it means there's only joy. If there is joy and sorrow in life, there's every possibility you will experience sorrow. When you have transcended joy and sorrow, what you experience is bliss. When you transcend honor and dishonor, what you experience is tranquility. So, one tusk broken represents you have gone beyond the pairs of opposites. I'm telling you, what does it mean going beyond the pairs of opposites? The world has no more has a hold on you. The people you deal with, they no more have an influence on you. The control center is with you. A person of perfection, success is one where the control center is in them. In them, whatever happens outside, it has a certain influence, but it doesn't topple the personality. So that is one aspect. And you'll always find the sweets are always at his feet. It means there is material wealth, prosperity at their beck and call. And there is a rat, if you observe a portrait of Ganesha, there is a rat looking up to Ganesha. And it's a beautiful analogy. A rat represents the mind. The rat represents the mind. And the rat has a sharp teeth, which means it means the mind has the potential to be greedy. It hoards, it collects, it hoards, it accumulates. And a rat is considered to be that creature when whatever it hoards, it even forgets. Whatever it hoards, it forgets. It keeps on collecting and it even forgets what it hoards. So, the rat looking up to Lord Ganesha represents the desires of the mind, looking up to a giant intellect. Looking up to the giant intellect. Look at the way these masters devised our mind. The way they devised mind. Mind is the equator to a rat. I mean, that's why we say it's all in the mind. In another context, the mind is equated to a monkey. That's the reason the cage of a monkey is the biggest in any kind of a zoo or any in a game reserve. The monkey's cage is the biggest one because a monkey can never remain constant in one place. Have you ever seen a monkey in a Padmasana pose, in absolute calmness? It never happens. There are two kinds of movements a monkey makes, which is move from one place to another, jump from one place to another. Within a place also it's fidgety. That's the reason our mind is equated to a monkey's mind. You could be sitting in a place but you're very fidgety. Or you can't sit in a place beyond a few minutes. You will move from one place to another place. That's the nature of the mind. The nature of, again, they equate it to a rat. A rat has a very sharp teeth, which means it represents greediness, and it keeps collecting. I knew one lady who has, say, 10,000 saris, and still she went to buy saris. I said, look here, we don't need to go to any store. If you want to buy something, you'll come to your place and select few aspects, and whatever you want, we'll give. And she said she went and bought another 4 saris, but she had 10,000 saris. I'm not joking. That's how my family makes good money. Nalli saris, it is we welcome such customers. Somebody who having 10,000 saris still wants another 10. So, the rat represents the mind, the greediness of the mind. You keep hoarding, you keep collecting, and you forget. You forget that you have this much. Again, you keep collecting and hoarding. That's the nature of the mind. Nature of the mind. You keep collecting, hoarding, and you forget it. Can you imagine? You so much effort and then you forget, again you collect. Therefore, a rat looking up to Lord Ganesha represents the mind which is controlled, policed, silenced, and as a result, it looks up to the mind. And when the mind looks up to the intellect, that's the reference of the rat looking up to Ganesha. And when the Ganesha sanctions that act, it takes up the sweets. So it's a fascinating analogy given by Swamiji, and then in that it is there in the book Symbolism of Hindu Gods. I would strongly recommend get that, go through it. Ganesha is something to be celebrated. It's a reminder. It's a reminder of that it is a path as well as the goal in our life. And there are also certain stories, Puranic episodes which has been highlighted. Kubera is the god of wealth, and he offered a grand dinner to Ganesha. He understood Ganesha, if you want to get to Shiva, you need to get through the sun. He says, if I convince the sun, I can get through Shiva. So he invited Ganesha, he threw a huge party. And the story goes, Ganesha ate all the food which was there. And whatever food was there, he consumed everything, and it was not enough. And he started eating in those days they have in the pandal, they erect certain aspects with the trees. And he started eating the festive decorations as well, which was used for the occasion. And Kubera, you can imagine, who is throwing a party? The god of wealth. He's throwing a party, and the entire menu is there. Vegan, vegetarian, keto, non-veg, everything was there, and Ganesha consumed everything, and nothing was left. And then Kubera was stunned. What do I do? Then he called Shiva directly, the father. Look here, sir, I have been organizing this dinner especially for your son, and he seems to have consumed everything. And then Shiva comes down and gives him a handful of roasted rice to Ganesha. And Ganesha consumes that, and his hunger is fulfilled. That's the story. He says, what is the story? He had everything, and finally Lord Shiva comes and gives a handful of roasted rice, and that fulfills his hunger. See, it's a reference that human being can never be satiated, fulfilled with the joys provided with the world of objects and beings. Any amount of joys, the pleasures which the world provides, it can never fulfill an individual. So that's represented by Kubera's feast. Kubera being the god of wealth, he throws a huge party, still it is not fulfilled. That's why see, it is only when you deal with your desires in a proper way, you regulate your contact with the desire, you moderate your pleasures, and finally you control your cravings. So that's how it is. See, therefore, the reference of roasted rice given by Shiva to Ganesha, it means roasted. Any rice which is roasted, it cannot germinate further, and you cannot do anything beyond that once you roast a rice. That's the reason roasted rice represents that your desires are controlled, are dealt in the right way. Your desires are in accordance with your intellect. So, just the mind, it is never enough. Just the mind. And Puranas highlight it in various ways. Ravana had a harem in his place. But still it was not enough. He wanted Sita. And the person he has not even seen. Sita was not on Instagram or on social media where he could Google and find, oh, this is Sita. No. It is Ravana has never even seen Sita. In spite of having a harem in his place, he could have had anybody. But the desire can never be satiated. Kubera's feast to Ganesha is a symbolic representation that whatever the world provides, it is not enough. Ask people who have enough and more, it is not enough. So that's why, see, there's nothing wrong in accumulating wealth, but everything wrong in not being satiated, happy with what you have. So that's the reference of Lord Ganesha attending Kubera's party and not being satisfied with whatever has been offered. So it's an interesting scenario. There's another story which is there in the Puranas. It says there's a belief that it is inauspicious to see the moon, to sight the moon on Vinayak Chaturthi day. Today being Vinayak Chaturthi day, it is inauspicious to sight the moon, to see the moon. And it is so the story goes that the moon saw Ganesha riding on his rat and laughed at it. The moon saw Lord Ganesha riding on his rat, and the moon laughed at it. And for this, the moon has been condemned, criticized. It's just a story. Don't ask me how did the moon see Ganesha. It's a story. The philosophical significance is Ganesha riding on a rat is a reference to a self-realized master, a person who has gained that oneness with divinity, trying to convey the highest knowledge to the general public. It is too difficult for a layman to gather this wisdom, because it's very, if you've read the Upanishads, it is interesting. When a student asks the master, what is God? Where is God? To which the master replies, it is the eye of the eye, it is the ear of the ear, it is the mind of the mind. It is very difficult to convey the supreme reality, because that aspect, it's like, how do you convey the grandeur of a waking state to a dreamer? You can give some pointers. A person is asleep, is in the dream state. How do you explain that to a dreamer? In that way, so dealing with your body, mind and intellect it's a finite aspect. It cannot experience. That's why they say you cannot conceive divinity. You can't feel the God principle. You can't see the divine energy. You can only become one with divinity. Your body, mind and intellect cannot feel, cannot touch or cannot conceive the divinity. You can only become one with the divinity. So generally the great masters, it is not easy for them to convey this message. So therefore it's a suggestion, don't belittle the wisdom of these great masters. It's a caution to all seekers that we should not belittle, or we should not talk ill, or you should not ridicule the teachings of the great masters. It's just the moon laughing at Lord Ganesha riding a rat. It's a symbolic representation that, look here, he's trying to convey something. Don't ridicule it. It's a fascinating. These are all symbolic representation. And if you observe a portrait of Ganesha, Ganesha has 4 hands. It's interesting. It's representing your body, your mind, your ego, and the conditioned consciousness. The Sharira, Manas, Buddhi, and Chitta. Body, mind, ego, Ahankar. Sharira is body, Manas is mind, Ahankar is ego, Chitta is conditioned consciousness. We are all pure consciousness, or we have the body, mind and intellect plus the consciousness, but we function more from the standpoint of body, mind and intellect. Therefore, they say you're conditioned by your body, mind and intellect. The pure consciousness is conditioned by our body, mind and intellect. So these are the 4 aspects to it. And Ganesha literally means the pure consciousness. So the first hand holds an axe. And the axe is a representation that you have to sever the attachments and cravings in your lives. It's a reminder. You got to get rid of your attachments and cravings in your life. The second is a rope, and the second hand he holds a rope. Means Ganesha seems to pull the seekers towards that path of spirituality. It helps you to disentangle yourself from the preoccupations of the world. Rope. And the third is the modak, the sweets which are there. I'm sure most of you would have had the modaks today. At least that you should have had. The sweets made with rice ball and jaggery. It is done in such a way anyone can do it. It's the, see, just the, wherever the sweets, which means the rewards of your spiritual journey. Wherever you are doing it, the tapas gives you those rewards, the sweets. And in the fourth hand, he has the Padma, the lotus. Lotus is the most beautiful representation. Lotus is born in the water, lives in the water, perishes in the water, but it is never influenced by water. That's the beauty of lotus. It arises in water, it exists in water, it perishes in water, but it is never influenced by water. Anytime you pick up a lotus, it is dry. It has a greasy surface on it which prevents it from getting wet. Similarly, friends, we are born in this world, we exist in this world, we perish in this world, but we can be absolutely unaffected by the world, uninfluenced by the world when you have this flavor of spiritual knowledge. Whatever the knowledge is, whatever your path you have taken, if you're doing it in the right way, you are very much in the world. You are extremely enjoying the world, but you are not affected by it. We are not like a stock market. One time it is up, another time it is down, again it is up, again it is down. No, that's not the. There is a sense of equanimity, absolute equanimity. So that's the four hands where one is the axe, another is a rope, the third is a modak, and the fourth is a lotus. So, friends, Ganesha represents success, perfection, and also the path to that perfection. So, as seekers, on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, we offer our tapas, our discipline in this path, and as a result, we are all the sons of Shiva, as he says. If you are doing it in the right way, you will gain that oneness with divinity. It's a reminder. The grandeur of the Indian tradition is there are so many festivals, so many gods. That's why they say Hinduism is like a super specialty hospital. A super specialty hospital is one where it has all kinds of departments, gynecology, neurology, every aspect it has. A person, according to their disease, goes to that place, gets himself cured, and then comes out. Nobody is suggested to stay put in a hospital. No one is, even doctors don't stay put in a hospital, they also go home. It is similarly, you use these practices in the right way, as a result, you transcend. That's why, friends, transformation is what is suggested. Transformation means you're moving from the old formation and getting into a new formation. You have transcended your old aspects and now you're moved into the new aspect. Transferring yourself from the old to the new is transformation. And all these are great reminders that we should be in the path and we should work on ourselves in such a way. Can we be a better version of ourselves all the time? That's why I say, till the last breath we have, there's a possibility of growth. Many a times, the great transformation requires just one thought. You don't need 10, 15 thoughts. Great transformations requires one strong, powerful thought. And you have transformed forever. You're transformed forever. So, that's the grandeur of the spiritual path, Vedanta. And we take a firm vow on the day of Vinayak Chaturthi that we will put in as much effort as possible. No effort spared, and we will do our best. And as a result, like a river merging with the ocean, we will be one with that ultimate source. So that is religion, that is yoga, and Vinayak Chaturthi is a reminder for us to get to that state. So with this, we'll get into the Bhagavad Gita, a very important portion in the Gita. We will take up again, the way it has been highlighted is beautiful. So we are in chapter 13, one of the most potent chapters of the Gita. We will take up we had taken up verse 5 last week, where Krishna says, it is sung by sages in many ways, in various hymns, and has also distinctive precepts indicating Brahman. This, as I mentioned, Brahman, or the supreme reality, or this ultimate knowledge, is not an object of perception, emotion, or thought. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't conceive it, you can only become that. Similarly, like a dreamer cannot conceive the waker. Even if he tries to conceive, it's just a thought. A dreamer cannot touch the waker, a dreamer cannot see the waker, a dreamer can only become the waker. Similarly, all our efforts, I'm not saying we have to put in effort, eventually, when you transcend your desires, you become one with it. That's why God plus desires equals a human being. God plus desires equals a human being. Human being minus desires equals God. Therefore, very simple but a profound equation. God plus desires equals a human being. Human being minus desires equals God. Therefore, the entire spiritual journey is not bringing in divinity into our life. Entire spiritual journey is dealing with our desires. We are not to suppress, condemn our desires. We have to use it and transcend it. So once you deal with the desires properly, once you have transcended the desires, what remains is divinity. That's why if you understand, none of us are bringing in divinity. It is there. It is there. Once you remove the coverings of it, once you remove the desires, what remains is divinity. That's why in all faiths, they have portrayed desires as the barrier standing between you and divinity. In Islam, the desires are personified as shaitan. In Christianity, desires are personified as Satan. In Buddhism, the desires are personified as Mara. And in Hinduism, the desires are personified as Asura. Even if you go to the Chinese temples, you will find demons. It is personified as desires, as a barrier. So, with that, that's why this knowledge, that's why I say two ways of conveying this knowledge. Articulate, which is through words, through books. Inarticulate, it is through sound. Meaning, it could be the chants, the prayers, the bhajans, all those inarticulate. Inarticulate means it is your mind more involved in it. When you listen to it, there is a calmness you experience. Inarticulate. Articulate is there is a discussion, there is a proper thinking, reflection. The two ways, and each one of us need both. We need both. Merely inarticulate, it is not enough just to soothe your mind. You also need the articulate ways where it provokes your intellect, and both put together helps us immensely. With this, we'll get into verse 6 of chapter 13. Verse 6 of chapter 13.
Mahabhutanyahangaraha bodhiravyaktameva cha. Mahabhutanyahangaraha bodhiravyaktameva cha. Indriyani dashaikam cha. Panchachendriyagocharaha. Indriyani dashaikam cha. Panchachendriyagocharaha. Mahabhutanyahangaraha bodhiravyaktameva cha. Indriyani dashaikam cha. Panchachendriyagocharaha.
A great verse. This one and the next one are very important because it is introducing yourself to yourself. It's interesting that even though we know a lot, it is an indicator how much we are self-consumed. The translation for verse 6. The great elements, ego, intellect, and also the unmanifest, the 10 senses and the one mind, and the 5 objects of the senses. Now, he is explaining what we are constituted of. This is what you are. It is incredible that, I mean, if you ask me, these are all the fundamentals we need to learn about ourselves, not about anyone else. That's why I say this, introducing yourself to yourself. This verse and the next verse, Krishna gives 31 aspects of an individual. It's stunning. So, he starts with the great elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth. These are the 5 elements, the Mahabhutas, which is there in you, which is also a part of the world. It's incredible. I mean, how is there is fire and water in us? Can you imagine how is that combination? As I repeat, space, air, fire, water, and earth constitute each one of us and is also a part of the world. The earth is made up of that as well as the individual. You may understand. That's why. How do you know we are constituted of 5 elements? The moment a person is dead, no more. First, the air goes off. They no more. The air is merged with the total air, and you'll find after a while the water starts oozing out, and then the heat which was there, the heat which was there, that starts diminishing, and then the space which you occupied when you're buried or burned, it goes back to the total space. I think it's a phenomenal combination. That's why they even say health is nothing but all these 5 elements kept in the right way. You're in good health. It is not your 6 packs or it is not the muscle weight you gain. It is the 5 elements well balanced in each one of us determines the quality of physical health. So Mahabhutas, this is one which is there in you, it's there in the earth. It constitutes earth. Next, this says Indriya Gochara, meaning the sense objects. The 5 objects of the senses correspond to the 5 organ of perception. Meaning the eyes correspond to the color, the sight. Your eyes goes for the various color and forms. Sound for the ears. This is what the world offers, the sound for the ears. Smell for the nose. Taste for the tongue, and touch for the skin. It is the 5 sense organs correspond to the 5 sense objects. I mean, this is, if you observe, it's just details about us. See, your eyes can only see color and form, it cannot smell. The ears can only hear various sounds, it cannot see. What it means is there are 5 sense organs which correspond to the 5 sense objects. This is there. That's why with your tongue you can't see, but it can only taste. With your skin you can only touch. It cannot do anything else. So 5 sense organs or 5 corresponding to the 5 sense objects. This is the first one 5, the next one 5. The 5 elements, great Mahabhutani, Indriya Gochara, that is sense objects. Then Dasha Indriyani, the 10 senses, 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of perception and 5 organs of action. Each one of us have it, whether you agreed or not. 5 organs of perception are eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Eyes, with which you see color and form. Ears, with which you hear. I hope you're all hearing. Those who have cameras on, I can see you're all forced to hear. Those cameras are not on, I don't know. I don't know what you're hearing. Eyes, ears, nose, smell. After this dinner, I can smell something nice. Smell for the nose, and touch for the skin. The 5 sense organs, and then the 5 organs of action. 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action. 5 organs of action are what is called karma indriyas: hands, feet, speech, generative organ, and organs of defecation. So hands, Whatever organs, there are 5 organs of action: hands, feet, your speech, your generative organs, and organs of defecation. It is so these are the 5 organs of action. It is interesting. Speech is considered as an organs of action. Speech, and if only we refine our speech, it will be wonderful. So 5 organs of perception and 5 organs of action: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Hands, feet, speech, genital organs, and anal. So the 5 the organs of action. So these are the 10 indriyanis. And then he says, and then eka mean one, refers to the mind. Refers to the mind. One is the mind. And why they say ekam mind? Eventually, it is how well you deal with the mind. If you have dealt with the mind properly, everything else is fine. If you have not dealt with the mind carefully, that is enough to destroy you. That's right. You don't need anything else. See, your 5 sense organs or organs of action, organs of perception cannot destroy you. What you see cannot destroy you, but what you do with what you see can destroy you. You could see, you could be in a beautiful yacht and enjoy the whole ride, whole journey, but what you see can destroy you. What you see cannot destroy you, but what you do with what you see can destroy you. What you do with what you hear can destroy you. What you hear may not destroy you, but what you do with what you hear, one statement made by a person whom you value or a stranger can destroy your peace of mind. Mind, that's right. Ekam, one. No wonder the great Swami Vivekananda says, conquer your mind, you will conquer the world. Fall a prey to your mind, you become a victim of the world. Even John Milton, he says, your mind in its own place can make a hell out of a heaven or a heaven out of a hell. Therefore, heaven or hell are not geographical locations, but a state of mind. So therefore, is a ekam, one. You deal with it properly, you have dealt with it, dealt with every other aspect of life. Then he says, buddhi, intellect, that the capacity to reason, think. Ahankara, ego. With that, see that arrogation thought, this is mine. When you arrogate various aspects to yourself, that is ego. That is ego. That's when a seeker asked Swami Ramatirtha, when will I be free? To which he said, when the I ceases to be. When will I be free? When the I ceases to be. Ahankar. Ahankar. See, wherever there is a strong mind, there is also a strong memory. Wherever there is a strong mind and a strong memory, you have developed your ego to a great extent. You will not have an ego when the mind is under control, when your memories are under your suzerainty. You'll always find a person who have a strong ego also has a strong memory. And those who have a strong memory also has a strong mind. See, that's the reason a child may argue with you. It doesn't have a strong memory. It will forget. It will forget what, and then next day it will come and play with you. But your memory, we're all a victim of our memories. If you can sleep peacefully, you have dealt with your memories properly. You're able to set aside. If you're not able to sleep peacefully, the memories, the mind and the memories together creates a very strong ego. See, you're going to discuss humility in this chapter. In the next few verses, he's going to highlight humility. Humility is an effect of taming your mind and dealing with your memory. Therefore, you only hold what you need to hold. Humility. The most attractive quality in any individual is humility. It is not the knowledge, it is not the opulence, it is not the position, but humility. The most attractive quality. If you want to become attractive in the world, if you want the world to embrace you, be humble. That's all I would say. Be humble. You say it is when I say be humble in your thoughts, not merely in your action, in your thoughts. Humble. So ahankara. And then he talks about unmanifest, avyukta. It refers to your vasanas. Vasanas, as we discussed last week in detail, vasanas is a seed for your thoughts, the source of your thoughts. Now, because you have a vasana, the vasana literally means fragrance, the source that creates a thought, and the thought, when you entertain further, becomes a desire, and when the desire is strong, you act on your desire. Therefore, there's a chronology, there's a sequence: vasana, thought, desire, and action. Vasana, thought, desire, action. So that's all that they say. Vasana is unmanifest. You can't see your vasanas, but you can understand what your vasanas are through the thoughts you entertain. At the thought level, if you are able to dismiss certain thoughts which you think is not necessary, not right, you are in a much better stage. That's the reason it is those who are able to deal. If you want to dismiss something, try and nip it in the bud. There's even English saying, nip it in the bud. At the thought level, if you are able to dismiss what you think is negative, what you think is not right to pursue, if you are able to nip it in the bud at the thought level, you are not allowing it to manifest as a desire. And once you manifest as a desire, it will take the form of an action. You end up becoming a victim of it. So, these are the 31 ingredients to each one of us. Can you imagine? The Mahabhutas, the 5 elements, great elements, and then the sense objects which correspond to your sense organs. Which is what are the 5 sense organs? Totally 10 sense organs, 5 organs of perception: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, and the 5 organs of action: hands, feet, generative organs, and organs of evacuation. This is a 10 plus 1, the mind. He doesn't call it as the mind, but he says the one which is dealt with properly. And then buddhi, intellect; ahankar, ego; and avyakta, unmanifest, which is your vasanas. This is each one of us. Whether you agree or not, whether you accept or not, this is each one of us. Can you imagine how beautifully the 5 elements are functioning in each one of us? And how these elements, these sense organs correspond to the sense objects and the organs of action which you have, and the mind, the intellect, and the ego. Nothing wrong with the ego. You see, that's why ego, when it takes the form of self-esteem, you are dealing with it properly. When the ego takes the form of self-importance, that destroys you. So ego per se is nothing wrong. Now, if you have dealt with your life properly, it is taking the form of self-esteem, self-belief, and finally the unmanifest, the vasanas. Verse 7, please.
Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dhritihi. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dhritihi. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dhritihi. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam.
Desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, assemblage, intelligence, firmness. This is Kshetra, briefly described with its modifications, says Krishna. Now 7 more aspects of our personality highlighted. It is a 24 given in the previous verse. Now he says it is 7. Ichha, desire. Any desire you have, they say, is a result of an aspect of ignorance. Ichha, desire. See, if you understand how a desire is formed, it's interesting. See, it's an aspect of us. We may have a desire, but how is a desire formed? You have to experience an emptiness within, and that emptiness creates certain thoughts which rush to the world, and when you fulfill or when you meet with those thoughts, that the emptiness is fulfilled. An example is dinner. In most parts of the world, dinner it is. It is there if you have not had anything, intermittent fasting, or only one meal a day. Somebody has invited for dinner. It is hopefully it is they do some Italian or I don't know Peruvian, something different. See the emptiness you feel within creates a thought. It is empty. If you have had a nice meal, even if you are invited to the best of restaurants, what would you say? Thank you very much. You may go there, have still water or sparkling water, and then you come out. Because no desire. No desire. You will just be there for the company and come back. Because no desire to have something. When there is an emptiness felt within, the thoughts run to the world, which created as a form of desire, and you fulfill the desire. That emptiness you felt within is satiated. That's a desire. The interesting part is, in the entire desire, according to these masters, they say is imaginary. We are all in a state of paripurna, but we are not aware of it. We don't experience it. Therefore, the thoughts run to the world. So, it is an aspect of a personality, desire. Each one of us have a desire, have plenty of desires. The only thing is, are you a victim of your desire? That's all. If you are in control of your desire, perfect. If you are a victim to your desire, you got to watch out. You don't need to be a victim of 100 desires. 1 or 2 desires, you become a victim and you are enough. That's enough for you to suffer in life. So, desire. Next is dvesha, hatred. Says, the hatred comes in. It's nothing due to an interruption to your desire. Whatever desire, a simple example. You are really hungry and you go to your favorite restaurant and they mess up with the food you ordered. What will happen? Hatred. You said there's anger which fuels your thought process because of the ignorance. The hatred is happening because your desire is interrupted. One aspect of the desire is hatred. The second aspect is, if your desire is fulfilled, sukha, meaning pleasure. Pleasure arises out of fulfillment of a desire. Other aspect, dukkha, pain. If your desire remain unfulfilled, dukkham, pain. Sangataka, it means assemblage, refers to your body. Chetana, intelligence. The storage of information in your mind. This intelligence. I've met many intelligent people who suffer from various diseases of the mind. That's why we always say intelligence is pertaining to a particular field of activity, a subject. You could be extremely well informed, very intelligent in that field of activity with which you can do wonders. You enhance your standard of living, but quality of living, mere intelligence alone is not enough. So, and it's an aspect of us. You need to have intelligence, but that alone is not enough. The problem is, the world judges us by the intelligence we have, not by a strong intellect. So that's the problem. Next aspect of us is dhriti, firmness. Your potential to maintain consistency of purpose. Dhriti, meaning whatever you have taken up, there is a strength in your pursuit. You pursue it without giving up. Without giving up. That discipline is called dhriti. Your discipline to pursue one aspect you have taken up, and your control to say that to no to the 99 things which takes you away from the pursuit. That dhriti. That is dhriti. No, that is tapas. Dhriti. So all these 7 elements, that's why Ichcha, desire. See, if only we become acutely aware of our desires, it's a beautiful life. That's why every week we give you some homework. Just become aware of your desires which bothers you. I'm not saying do anything. Just become aware of your desires which bothers you. Just make a note. These are the desires which is troubling. Make a note. And then, then become aware of the dvesha, the hatred. The any of your desires getting interrupted, how are you responding to it? We always say two ways you can deal with your life. Either you respond gracefully or you react aggressively. Let's say reacting aggressively doesn't help you. Responding gracefully helps you. So, dvesha, hatred, and then is sukha and dukkha. Pleasure you experience when the desire is fulfilled. Pain you go through when the desire remains unfulfilled. And they say the body is nothing but this assemblage of these five elements plus the five organs of perception, five organs of action. Along with these aspects, desire and hatred, along they say chetana, intelligence. And they give a great deal of importance to intelligence. It's very essential. See, when you identify what your swadharma is and you become intelligent in your field of activity, it does wonders to you. So intelligence is essential, but they put dhriti, firmness, even more important than everything else. That the dhriti, that firmness, the pursuit you've taken up. See, the moment you understand there's something in me I have to improve upon, that dhriti, that firmness with which you experience life, it does great deal to us. So these are the 31 elements in each one of us, and all these things function because of the pure consciousness, the divinity, the God principle in each one of us. So that's why I say again, God plus desires equals a human being. Human being minus desires equals God. So all these aspects are able to deal with carefully, and it's a question of time we would align ourselves to the ultimate reality. Think about it. It is enjoy the Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations. Have a fabulous week ahead, a week where you become aware of these 31 constituents. Can you imagine? A hatred comes in, you just become aware. You see, anger, I'd always say, anger, in that split moment, you just witness the anger. Anger goes away. The fear, the moment you witness fear, fear goes away. The more you run away from fear, fear runs over you. Even in the Wednesday lecture we discussed, right? The best thing about fear is when you go towards fear, the fear runs away from you. Avoid fear, fear grows. Face fear, fear goes. Avoid fear, fear grows in you. Face your fear, fear goes from you. And then you'll understand the entire thing was imagination. Entire thing was fear is nothing but an imagination created by your mind and designed to make you suffer fear. That's why avoid fear, fear grows. Face fear, fear goes. In simple, I've given you various examples. First time I gave a lecture, you have no idea the fear. Standing and giving a lecture, and the person said, "You can sit down." The moment I sat down, the fear multiplied because I practiced standing and giving a lecture. Now sitting down, so it's interesting. Fear. Once you're able to deal with fear, the smile is different in our life. That's why I always say, once you deal with fear, once you deal with fear, eventually the fear of death. Once you are able to transcend the fear of death, what does it mean, transcending fear of death? You are living your life gracefully, beautifully. That's the potential each one of us have. So think about it. Have a fabulous week ahead. Make sure that you are aware of these 31 constituents in us, and also since we have gone through the Ganesh Chaturthi, it is an opportunity for us to realign ourselves. It's like people take the wedding vows once again after. There are some people who have to take every few months, I guess. It is that amount of distraction. So it is like these festivals are helping us to align ourselves. So Next week, the topic is the Wednesday lecture, the peer pressure, Wednesday lecture.